Welcome to Boston Real Estate Times. Our guest today is Jennifer Francis. She is the Executive Vice President at RMR Group. She is also President and Chief Operating Officer of Diversified Healthcare Trust. Jennifer, welcome to Boston Real Estate Times show, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be
Excellent.
here.
Sure. So now, first thing, let's start with RMR. One thing we know, that's a big giant company which has about $32 billion assets under its management. So tell us what RMR does.
So the RMR Group, it's an alternative asset management company, as you said, principally engaged in commercial real estate. We oversee and manage a number of client companies that include publicly traded REITs and real estate related operating companies. We were founded in 1986, so we've been around for over 30 years, and we are expert at buying, selling, asset managing, financing commercial real estate. We're vertically integrated, meaning we manage, again, a number of REITs. And it's interesting because the REITs that we manage are externally managed, meaning the RMR Group manages all of the real estate functions and all of the functions, asset management, accounting, finance, investor relations, all of the people who are responsible for the day-to-day operations of those.
So how many REITs roughly you manage?
We have 4 REITs that are owners of real estate. We have a number of companies. We have a mortgage REIT. We also manage a number of operating companies. Travel Centers of America is an operating company that we manage. We manage 5-star senior living. We manage the Sonesta hotels.
Sure.
And so again, 32 billion of assets under management, 2,100 properties that are spread around the country. And within the RMR group itself, we have over 600 employees.
And the portfolio goes across all over the US?
It's all over the US, that's correct.
Okay. Any particular sector you focus on, a particular sector of real estate, or?
The RMR group specifically?
Yes.
No, we have office, industrial, senior living, medical office, life sciences, hotel. We have the truck stops, the travel centers that I talked about. So we're across all of the spectrums, but mostly, and there are a few, we're not in multifamily, but most commercial real estate.
Okay. Now, since you have this 360-degree views of commercial real estate touching almost every aspect through the REITs and directly you, what is your take that what is happening right now in commercial real estate market, and how do you look at the next couple of years?
Yeah, it really varies depending on the sector that we are talking about. So for instance, industrial real estate is very strong right now. Life sciences real estate continues to be strong through COVID-19. There are some other sectors that were less impacted than, say, hotel and senior living. Hotels and senior living communities have obviously been very negatively impacted by COVID-19. But medical office and traditional office, while occupants of those buildings initially moved out of those buildings during the onset of the pandemic, many of those tenants are now moving back in. So I actually think that we'll be okay. There's been a lot of talk everywhere. Everybody is reading about, is CBD office dead? And is there going to be this mad rush to the suburbs? And I don't think it is. I mean, I think we have to get through the pandemic. Obviously, a vaccine is extremely important, and then the distribution and acceptance of a vaccine are very important. But so while there may be a short-term effect on traditional real estate, I don't think it will be long-term.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to focus a little bit on the retail and senior living, and also, in the good news is about the healthcare and the medical market as well. So let's start with retail. I know there has been so many theories, at least since in the last 30 years, I have been covering real estate, that, the shopping centers, open space, all these things have been there. What do you think is going to happen with uh, the internet and online stores to the shopping malls and big boxes?
Yeah, I still think that people will continue to want to go to the store. I mean, I think that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and so that obviously people are less interested. But I do think that people like the experience of shopping, and I
Mhm.
think people like the experience of going out to dinner. And so I don't think, while everybody has gotten used to online shopping, getting their groceries delivered, certainly Amazon is on fire. I think that once things really open back up and people feel comfortable, again, I keep going back to a vaccine that's widely distributed and accepted by people. I think people miss the experience of
Sure.
going out and seeing people and walking through stores and going out to dinner.
So now this leads me to next question. So what is the potential of inventory? Do you think there's going to be new malls and centers in the future, or we have enough inventory nationwide?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's retail's always changing, and so the malls that were popular 30 years ago, or what's popular now, is very different than what was popular 30 years ago. So I think that retailers will always need to adapt and stay current with
Mhm.
the expectations of the consumer. So
Sure.
I don't think retail's dead. It may adapt and change a bit to be more in line with what the consumer is looking for.
But the prospect of new development and new growth is less bleak
For now. And
for
again,
now. Yeah, that's what I mean for the next couple of years. Yeah, sure.
yeah, for the next couple of years, I think that's right. But I do think that it will come back once the pandemic is behind us.
Okay. Now coming back to the senior housing and assisted living,
Yes.
of course, this was one of the worstly affected sector of the market in terms of lives, in terms of industry. And, the good news is that we heard about the new vaccine coming up, or at least being developed. So how long you think is going to take this industry to come back and recover? And also the future prospects of this industry?
Well, I'm a real believer in the future prospects of the industry. There's an aging population. The demographics in the United States, I think there are 10,000 people turning 65 every day. And so while 65 certainly isn't the target market for senior living, it is for active adult, which fits into that kind of that senior living category. Um, I think that, yes, it's been terribly hard hit. The things that everybody's been seeing on the news is really skilled nursing has been the most seriously hit, but
Sure.
assisted living as well. I do think that that a vaccine, again, that is available and widely distributed and accepted by consumers will help a great deal with the senior living industry. Senior living, the industry is going to need to build back up the confidence of the consumer. Senior living is really about the resident experience, and the
Sure.
resident experience has been impacted by COVID-19, because if I'm a resident in a senior living community during the lockdown that was countrywide, people were restricted from leaving their apartments and their rooms within the senior living communities. And that's not why they're there. They're
Right.
there, many of them are needs-based, but there are many that are there by choice, and they're there because of that active life and the socialization that they get and are offered by the programming that's in place in senior living communities. And so as these senior living communities are opening back up and that resident experience is starting to awaken, I think people will be interested in coming in, will grow occupancy,
Mhm.
as people are seeking that socialization. And as long as senior living operators can make them feel safe, it will come back.
Yeah. Now, Jennifer, also if you can talk a little bit about Diversified Healthcare Trust.
Sure.
What is that company and what is your role there and what it does?
Sure. So Diversified Healthcare Trust is a publicly traded REIT.
Mhm.
We've got about $8.5 billion of assets under management, a little more than half of which, I think 77% of our Q3 NOI was derived from our medical office and life sciences segment. And so that is a portfolio that's about 12 million square feet of medical office and life sciences assets. And then the other part of Diversified Healthcare Trust is senior living communities, and where we have senior living communities that are spread all over the country, more than 30,000 units across the country. And so that senior living that ranges from active adult, independent living, assisted living, and memory care primarily.
Sure. And now I know you have been quite active in NAIOP industry trade groups, and also you have been a member of a CREW, the Women in Commercial Real Estate.
Yeah.
And your own journey has been absolutely spectacular, from Graham Grant to CBRE, and now at the helm of this RMR group. So how has been your journey? How do you look at your own journey? And also, how do you look at the role of women in commercial real estate?
Yeah, my journey has been pretty traditional. Starting entry level, I started as an assistant asset manager at the Gunwin Company, being responsible for working with a group of management asset managers there. I worked my way up. I was there for 8 or 9 years, and I worked my way up. Hard work, long hours.
Sure.
And was eventually responsible for running the asset management group at the Gunwin Company. I then segued over to CB Richard Ellis, where I was there for about 9 years. And then 14 years ago or so, I came to the RMR group, and I started here overseeing a region where I was responsible for oversight of leasing, and all of our property management is done in-house. And because of my asset management experience, I oversaw a geographic region, the property management of that region. Pretty quickly segued into a position where I was responsible for overseeing leasing nationally. My leasing background, I did all of Fleet Bank's leasing when I was at CB Richard Ellis. I was their broker. And so that national leasing background lent itself well to my new responsibilities here. And then in about 2014, the company decided, we don't outsource property management for the most part. But we didn't really have a robust asset management group. And so I was asked and tasked with creating an asset management group here. So in addition to my responsibilities at Diversified Healthcare Trust, I've grown and am now overseeing it's actually 3 different asset management groups that are responsible for all of those 2,100 properties that I talked about. So we have office and industrial and retail asset management, we have senior living asset management, and we have hotel asset management.
So, and also talk a little bit about, I remember, when about 25 years or more than that ago, when I was covering commercial real estate and started my journalism career in real estate here in Boston, it was very difficult to find women in real high positions in the commercial real estate market. Yes. Now already I see that there's so many firms and so many divisions and groups are led by women. Yes. And of course, there's more work needs to be done. So how do you look at how the role of women has really changed in the commercial real estate market?
It has changed so much. And you're right, when I started over 30 years ago, I don't even like to admit
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
Very few women in the business. I often would go to an event where I was one of 2 or 3 women in the room with hundreds of men. It really has changed. I think that there are a lot of varying opinions on women in real estate and whether commercial real estate has been welcoming to women. I've found that commercial real estate has been very welcoming to me. But we do have organizations like CREW. At the RMR group, we have a leans in. We probably 3 years ago, we created a leans in circle. Our general counsel here was the one who created it and invited a group of women to be part of that leans in circle. We then created sub-circles of leans in to just try to create a mentoring relationship with women, to kind of just help them understand some of the strategies that are necessary to be successful. And I think it's to be successful in business. Commercial real estate happens to be the business that I'm in, but I think that there are, you can kind of just tell your stories to women to provide mentorship and sponsorship for those women.
Yeah. Now, when you take REITs, like there's so many REITs in the country, how many, do you have any idea how many REITs are there in the US right now?
Oh boy, I don't off the top of my head, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, no problem. But now, they have a big organization called NAREIT, National Association of REITs and all this stuff. And I think they have hundreds of REITs there. Now, as you deal with them, and of course, it's a very elite group of investors and property managers. And I think when you look at their boards and board of advisors, there are very few women sitting on those boards.
There are very few women. I was actually just asked to join the governor's board of advisory. I think I've got that backwards, but I of NAREIT. So I've just joined that group, and I think NAREIT has done a better job opening up and bringing more women in. I looked at it, and I think it's that group has, I think it's 25 or 30% women on that board now. And so I think it's taken time for women to work their way up into being seniors in those organizations, but I think we're making headwinds.
Excellent. Now, as we come to the end, your last word on RMR and the commercial real estate market.
Well, I love RMR. As I said, I've been here for 14 years, and it's been a great organization to work with. And as far as commercial real estate goes, I still believe in it, and I know that it's been it's been a struggle through the pandemic, but I truly believe that people are better when they're gathering and working as a team. We're trying to get people to come back to the office. I think that you lose that the collaboration when people are working from home. So I'm hoping post-COVID, everybody comes back to the office.
Okay. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Sure.